watching CramerSez. Welcome to the show. My name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez podcast. It's Wednesday, January 3rd. The first thing that we like to do is get everything out of the way. So if you haven't been to CramerSez.com, we call this the house cleaning section. If you haven't been to CramerSez.com, go get yourself an account right now. CramerSez.com, free speech platform, free speech, free speech, free speech. That's all I want to say. And there's a bunch of memes there as well. If you're looking for stuff you can't find elsewhere, guess what? Where you can find it? CramerSez.com. Also, here in just a few moments, I will be uploading the Jeffrey Epstein list. If you haven't seen that, we'll be taking that. That'll be available on my Telegram channel here in the next 4 or 5 minutes. So keep an eye out for that. If you're not following me on Telegram, it's CramerSez Vids on Telegram. Also, one last thing. If you haven't been over to CramerSez.shop, that is our swag shop. That's where you can get all the goods and the hoodies and all that kind of stuff. I don't think we have hoodies right now. But t-shirts and mugs and hats and that kind of stuff, all the proceeds, 100% of the proceeds go to benefit the J6 detainees and their families. So go do a great part for, do something for yourself, buy yourself something nice, and do something for them as well. Tonight's guest is Harry Fisher. Harry is a traveling paramedic, and you may or may not know him. He exploded onto the scene on TikTok during the height of COVID, and guess what? He got censored. Yeah, a lot of that's been going around over there. If you don't know Harry by name, you'll definitely recognize his voice and his message. Let's see if I can do this right.
During the heart of COVID, we were experiencing something called happy hypoxia. Those of us in the medical field that actually witnessed this had never seen anything like it. People walking, talking, not turning blue at 50% saturations. Right now, I have a pulse ox on my finger, measuring my oxygen saturations. My sats are 99 to 100%. People look like me, talk like me at 50%. That's very strange. The doctors that I would drop these patients off with, that I would transfer care over to, would say, we've never seen anything like this before. It's something COVID brought. We don't understand. Mainstream news hasn't picked up this story, and I don't know why. You can find 1, maybe 2 articles on it if you Google it, but it should have been a huge story. Something I suggested while working on an ambulance was we use these meters to tell if someone has COVID or not, because we had never seen this ever. Well, instead we used those faulty tests that would give false positives, as we all know now, consistently giving false positives. What's highly concerning to me, other than the obvious, is the fact that people were taking those false positives and going to clinics and getting experimental therapies, getting these new therapies, getting IV fluids pumped into them that they didn't need or possibly didn't need, all based on faulty tests. Very few patients out of all of those that the test said had COVID actually experienced happy hypoxia. Very few in comparison. There's a smoking gun in there, and there's a reason why the mainstream news doesn't want to touch that story. God bless.
Welcome to the show, Harry. You got a message I think people need to hear.
How's it going? Nice seeing you again, Kramer.
Well, it's good to see you. We talked probably a year ago and had a pretty good conversation and kind of came to the conclusion that things were going to go to hell in a handbasket fairly quickly if we didn't start being able to speak freely. And in that time, Twitter was purchased by Elon Musk, and here we are now a year later talking openly about COVID, the vaccines, and the harms done by everything. When you came onto the scene, one of your first messages was fairly clear about the people in the lines. Let's start at the very beginning of what you started talking about and what first got you censored on social media.
Gotcha. First tried to talk on TikTok and Facebook. I've been able to access Facebook for a good while now. And TikTok, as you know, bans us. But my first ban came from, the first video was me coming out and saying I'm a paramedic that's done CPR on a Pfizer line, that lost 2 patients within 2 weeks that I know of. And that was predominantly it. And it was censored within 24 hours, and they said it was terroristic activity. They called me a dick.
Right.
Yeah, it was mind-boggling, honestly. After that, of course, it made me mad. So I started posting more and more, just because. Why are you censoring a paramedic that's trying to tell you what he saw? I don't understand that.
Right.
Especially in America. Like, if we were in China, I'm okay, I get it, but not America. So I started coming out and trying to just tell what I was seeing on a day-to-day basis when the shots rolled out. It's been some horrible things, and consistently just getting banned and deleted. It's not till recently, when Elon Musk took over X, that I actually could keep some messages up. So,
and how is that since you've come on, since this thing with Musk, you've taken off again, right? I mean, I've seen the action on your account is just constant, and every time that you put something up, the vast majority of people that come onto your page are those trying to say that you're lying. Have you recognized the same thing? Okay. Well, trying to disprove you.
They don't have a leg to stand on anymore. I mean, the people that were either paid to shill for pharmaceutical companies, or that truly bought into this due to all the propaganda and everything that was thrown at this, they just don't have a leg to stand on anymore. The safe and effective push is gone. I mean, they can't say it's safe. There's too many. As soon as someone comes on and says this is completely safe, you'll get someone saying, I lost my daughter, right. I lost my husband, I lost right. my brother, I lost my aunt, my niece is dying after the vaccine. Like, there's just too many people at this point that are experiencing death and damage.
Well, that's what my dad. He had congenitive heart failure. He had heart issues, so we didn't expect him to live forever. But one of the issues that came into play was that he got his first shot. Told him not to do it, but he got it. He's 80 years old. He's going to listen to his doctors, so he goes and gets the shot. And then a few weeks later, he gets that booster. Or it was a few months later, he gets his booster. There was no difference between my dad in shot one at all. I didn't notice any cognitive differences at all. But that booster, he became a zombie overnight. And what we realized 2 or 3 days later is that he was having strokes. And then 3 weeks later, he was dead. So it's going to be hard. It's a hard sell for me to say that these vaccines are safe and effective when we found out time and time again that they're not. So when you were standing in the lines and you were watching people have adverse reactions, what was the response from those above you when you said, "Hey, listen, I think we got a problem here"?
Well, it was not really standing in the lines. I was working on an ambulance in a big city,
okay,
and I got a call, 911 call to a vaccine. I guess you could call it a clinic, because the way they did these, it wasn't real clinics. They weren't doing them inside the hospital because of the way I take it is liability reasons. The hospitals weren't giving you these shots. It was parking lots. It was
right.
weird places that normally don't give you shots. And I got called to one of those shot lines. I call it a shot line because there was a line of people, and at the front of it where the tables were where they give the shots, a person was dead. And performed CPR. Me and my partner performed CPR. Fire department was on scene like they do in the big cities. We worked the code for the patient. Patient passed, but before they passed, I got them to a hospital. But I worked that patient for 15 plus minutes in front of people trying to resuscitate them. And what's strange, well, all of it's strange, but what's really strange is I looked over my shoulder at one point and no one was leaving the line. Like, they were watching us perform life-saving measures, and no one walked away. That was just a surreal moment in my life that I'm never going to forget.
Well, it's almost like when Charlton Heston was yelling at everybody that it's Soylent Green. You're eating Soylent Green. It's people. You're eating people, and they continue to eat. Their cognitive dissonance is so thick or so solid that you can't break through it.
It's sickening.
In the time since then, Harry, what's been your message to people then when they talk to you about this, your personal recommendation? I know you're not a physician, but as a paramedic, seeing what you've seen, knowing what's normal and isn't normal, what's been your recommendation to them?
I've tried to come out and just say we're up against a rock and a hard place. I've seen COVID deaths because I worked in an ICU in New York City and ER. Worked from New York City to North Dakota, Oklahoma, all the way to Alaska. I've seen COVID deaths, and I've seen shot deaths. I mean, people die either right after their shot or days or weeks. But a lot of these are healthy young people with no other medical history. So my message has been, this isn't safe. What they're saying is safe isn't safe. And I've been trying to give proper consent because we're up against an experiment. I mean,
Right.
we didn't know long-term effects of these shots. I mean, the other side tried to constantly say they've been studying it for years. And just because you've been studying mRNA for years doesn't mean you've thrown it into the entire world overnight.
Right.
That's what made this an experiment. And then now that we're seeing like your family members pass from clots, from heart attacks, from aortic aneurysms, from things that used to be actually rare. Used to, an aortic aneurysm was actually rare. Because I've been doing this since 1997. It was super rare for me to see an aortic aneurysm. Now, whenever I'm working the streets, it's not rare. Strokes in young age groups was extremely rare. Like I might have seen on the street one that I can think of off the top of my head since '97. Young strokes since the vaccine rollout, a lot. I mean, just a lot. There was one instance where I ran a under 14-year-old playing kickball stroke, and that's just unheard of, especially in healthy patients. And
When you hear, let me jump in real quick. When you hear people tell you that myocarditis is not rare, that strokes in 14-year-olds, oh, they happen, what's your response? When they try to explain it away that it's normal, it's natural, what's your response?
They do happen. That's happened over time, but it's not as prominent as it has been since this experimental rollout. Just because something has happened in the past doesn't mean that the numbers make sense now. And especially whenever VAERS, like if you mention VAERS, they'll try to come at you. They tried from the start to just knock VAERS. It's really strange that they started a program. The powers that be started a program to be a canary in the coal mine, to show us if something was causing trouble. And it showed it. It literally, I mean, just astronomical numbers almost overnight when this vaccine rolled out. And the biggest push was, oh, you can't trust VAERS. Oh, VAERS isn't real information. I mean, it was just such a propagandized psyop. So my message to everyone would be, we are up against, but we've also been up against the flu. We've also been up against all kinds of things. What's the difference is I'm not mandated to get COVID, and they're mandating you to get something that can kill you. And that's what they have been doing. Granted, thankfully now I'm not mandated to get anything, and most of our HRs don't even ask anymore. Most of them actually know you probably made a smart decision by not taking it. What's sad is the fact that they're not saying we're sorry to all the people that they turned away.
Yep.
They're not providing something, because I went for a couple months without finding a job because no one would hire me. I got an exemption. I actually got an exemption at the one contract I was at right when they really pushed it. My exemption read, due to the fact that I've done CPR on a Pfizer line, I cannot in good conscience put this substance into my body. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, give to God what is God's. That was approved. I was showing people at the job I was working at, you don't have to take this. Look, I saw someone die. Don't take it. And still, most people took it because they were scared to rock the boat. They were so afraid of the propaganda that was pushed. There's going to be a horrible winter.
Right.
Like they were afraid. And I can understand fear. What's so sad is the people were abused with fear mongering. They were pressured into something that they honestly didn't need to take. The young ones, I mean, based on their own initial data, didn't need to take this substance, and yet they pushed it on them. And that's abuse. That is abuse. And our general public went through such a mental and physical abuse that now we're reaping what that looks like. Whenever I run abused patients, like a spousal abuse patient, they deny deny, deny. And if you press the issue, hey, you need to report them, you need to leave, guess what they do? They get mad at you.
Right.
They take it out on you. So we're dealing with a very abused, emotionally damaged public.
I agree. I think that we've had formation psychosis over the last 3 or 4 years, and people have been scared into, not doing what's in their best interest. Right? Is that we're going to take an experimental medication, and it's not experimental. We've been working on this for years. Well, how many people have you tested this on? Well, you're kind of the test group. And that's what they kept telling us. It's safe and effective. Well, how could they know it was safe and effective if it hadn't been tested for being safe and effective? It wasn't tested for that. And when you go back and you listen to the European hearings, where they tell you not only did they not test for that, but they didn't test to make sure that it wouldn't let you pass it on, or that it would actually protect you. I mean, I think it's interesting, and I'll go in a different parallel here for a minute, but the exact same people who changed the definition of a vaccine during a pandemic are the exact same people who have changed the definition of so many words and so many meanings over the last 3 or 4 years, in particular, what it means to be a man. So I'm at the point right now that I've been lied to so many times, I've been told so many times that I'm wrong and my information's incorrect, and then I find out 3 or 4 weeks later, or 2 or 3 months later, or a year later, that we were lied to. And the people that were lied to as well, the other people that believed all the bullshit, Harry, they will not recognize that they've been lied to. The cognitive dissonance is so fucking thick with them that you cannot get through to them that they've been lied to. I was reading one of the pieces, or I was watching one of the videos that you had on your TikTok account, I think it was, where a lady's saying that anyone who took this vaccine is going to die within 3 to 5 years. Well, that's a very specific timeline, right? But what we're starting to see is we're starting to see all of these deaths. And in particular, paramedics like yourself who are in the field, you guys should be the canary in the coal mine. And they silenced you. They silenced our doctors. Do you see that there's a return to this? Do you see that we can? Is it possible that we could go through this again? Would you shut down and be quiet? Would your coworkers shut down and be quiet if it started all over again?
Me personally, no. I wasn't quiet from the beginning. I mean, as soon as I started putting 2 and 2 together, I was very vocal and very out of a job for a couple of months. Yes, I think most of the people that are still in, they would go through it all over again, most. What they seemingly did is they took away the real patient advocates. Right. They took away the real military members that could think outside of the box. They took away the real patient advocates inside the medical system. Those that are willing to advocate for your health and are actually concerned about everything instead of not rocking the boat, they removed us. Now, a lot of us have come back or have been trying, but I haven't seen enough be vocal, and that's because they're afraid. Now, I'm hopeful. I'm doing this in hopes that other people will not only see that they're up against dangerous substances, but also so my colleagues will realize that you can't be afraid. You can't fear the ghost in the dark. Sometimes you just got to walk in that dark, right, carry a big old flashlight, and take what comes.
Well, I figure if I'm walking in that dark cave by myself with my flashlight, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs to scare anybody else that's there. They should be scared by how loud I'm yelling. Our guest tonight is Harry Fisher. Harry is a paramedic, travels all over the country, and he's seen a bunch of stuff during COVID, and he's been telling his story on social media for the last few years. And, well, he's paid the price of all of the, just like us, being censored for what we're saying. And we're going to get back into some specifics when we get back, and we'll start taking phone calls right after this.
In the middle of the game.
Collapsing during the game.
Collapsing on the tennis court.
Suddenly collapsing.
The player
collapsed and died.
after collapsing.
He collapsed.
It seems that there's a second player who's collapsed.
This is unusual.
Never seen anything like this. Yeah, what's going on?
Sharp rise in unexplained deaths during the pandemic.
The number of deaths with unknown causes has gone up over the last 3 years.
Deaths that are not listed as COVID related.
I'm sorry, I'm feeling really dizzy.
Healthy young people are dying suddenly from a mysterious syndrome.
Sudden adult death syndrome.
SADS is an umbrella term to describe unexpected unexpected deaths in young people.
There is some evidence that some sort of delayed reaction to COVID.
Why would the legacy media not investigate this with the same vigour that they've applied to a variety of other subjects that appear to enhance their ability to control dissenting voices and shut down counter-narratives? Why is there a demand for censorship to be enshrined in law from the EU?
America's political prisoners need our help. CramerSez is on a mission to raise $100,000 or more. Can you help? Join our mission today at CramerSez.shop. You're watching CramerSez.
And welcome back. My name is Kramer. This is CramerSez podcast. It is Wednesday, January 3rd. We're into the third day of the year, and we've already got all kinds of massive things going on. The Jeffrey Epstein list got released tonight. We will be putting that up. It was supposed to go up. It has not gone up yet, but we will get it tonight. You'll be able to get it on my Telegram channel. Our guest tonight is Harry Fisher. Harry is a paramedic that travels around the nation, and during COVID noticed a bunch of anomalies. And one of the things, Harry, that came up during that period when we first started talking is that we were telling the truth. We were saying, here's what's going on. Here's our experience. This is what we're seeing. And here's the data that we're getting out of Israel. This is the data that we're getting out of Great Britain. This is the data that we're getting out of Gibraltar and other places that were giving great records. And we got the same response from the idiots on social media that would say, well, you can't trust that. Their system is just like theirs. Isn't theirs supposed to be the warning signal to say, hey, listen, motherfuckers, there's an issue going on here?
Yes.
Should we be able to control? Shouldn't we trust that as an issue? Because when they sign that, they're signing that under, it's an affidavit, is my understanding, correct? So it's under perjury of law when they sign on to VAERS.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. I mean, from what I've always heard, it's highly illegal to make up a story on VAERS. What the people that are on the other side of this argument, for whatever reason, still, they try to say you can make up anything you want on there. That's all they say, but they don't actually go through and name or and count the amount of bad things that have occurred and read the stories, or even hold the CDC, FDA accountable for combing through the story. Like there's been so many accounts of bad things that have occurred since the rollout of this experiment. You would think that alone would have just stopped and made everyone rethink.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I think it is working on making most of the public, plus the fact that they're losing loved ones. I mean, you lost a loved one. You can't really go anywhere these days without talking to someone who's witnessed or had a bad incident from shots.
Well, that's the issue. That's the issue, right? I didn't know anybody who died during COVID. Not a single person during the period where they were telling us on a daily basis, that little ticker down at the bottom of the screen telling us how many people died today. Nobody. No, I know tens of thousands of people. Nobody died from COVID. I had a friend that went to the hospital for 10 days for COVID, but she was also has arthritis, and she has what's the because she's on arthritis. She has arthritis. She's also on what's the medication? Humira, which is an immunosuppressor. So if you get an immunosuppressor along with a virus that is a killer, it can get you in trouble if you're a young person. Did you see the same thing happening?
I mean, I worked in a COVID ward in an ICU that had a lot of COVID patients. Were they dying of COVID? The doctors said they were when they died of COVID. I mean, what it looked like was organ failure. They were dying of organ failure.
Right.
I did realize that when a patient got intubated, most of the time they didn't come off the tube. It was very sad to witness. But that being said, while I was working in the ICU, while the president was on TV saying, you don't die of COVID if you get your shot. You don't get COVID if you get your shots. A lot of my patients had their shots. Yep. They were up to date on all their shots and dying of COVID. So I can account to that kind of stuff that I've witnessed. Can I say that COVID didn't kill anybody? No, because I was witnessing people die working in an ICU. What I can also say, though, is the lies that were being told about hospitals being overwhelmed at the time. I mean, there was more of a staffing issue. They were having trouble staffing places, so they would consolidate certain hospitals with COVID patients whereas other hospitals might not have been as busy. And I didn't experience the super overwhelmed portion until I worked in ERs after the shots rolled out. When the shots rolled out and people started actually going to the hospital again, then we got pretty overwhelmed because a lot of people had either quit, started being forced out of their positions, were told that mandates were coming, were leaving. So it was very difficult to find long-term beds for people. So we were holding people in the ER for long periods of time, a longer period of time than we ever used to have to. We were basically turning ERs into makeshift ICU rooms. We would bring some nurses down and try to keep them in the ER for a long period of time. And those weren't all COVID patients. That was just, and we didn't have anywhere to put you because there were staffing issues at other hospitals. I would call because the doctors would be like, can you, whoever is able to make some calls, try to find beds anywhere for a patient to get them out of the ER. And I would call and try to find beds, and I would talk to the house manager, the people who you talk to get a bed at other hospitals. And I would just ask them, is this a COVID problem? Is this a staffing problem? And most of them would say they just don't have the staff.
Yep. I think that what happened over the period of COVID showed us exactly who our fellow neighbor is. Right? Those that are willing to lie to us, cheat us, they don't care what they do as long as they get their cash, get their stacks. And during COVID, you and I were breaking information on a daily basis. We were finding information out and releasing it. My style, a little bit different than yours. Yours is much more subtle. You never scream and yell. And I love the sign off of God bless. He was always so like in your face, like, sticking a knife into somebody at the end. God bless. Do you think that the hospitals and the people that made it through, are they people that can be trusted? Do you believe that the vast majority of the doctors and the nurses that took the jab, went through the process, can they be trusted the next time something like this comes around? Will they lie to us again? Do you think it's just human nature?
That's rough. I don't want to. I'm still working in the medical field. I'm still inside my clinic. I would hope I'll do everything in my power to always give you consent and be trustworthy. So we're still here. As far as the upper echelon, the people in charge, I in good conscience, I can't say that I trust most of them.
Right.
They haven't come out and said, hey, we're seeing all of this. They're not giving data. They have the data.
Right.
They can tell us. They could tell us right now how many people have been vaccinated, how many terrible things have occurred since that vaccine rollout. They're not coming out and doing that. Now, does that mean all of them are terrible humans? No, but it does mean they're holding back a vital information that could prevent genocide.
I think you're right.
So,
I think we got people that did the I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing as I'm told. And we heard that excuse once before and it didn't fly then. Your followers and the people that you comment or talk with on a regular basis on your channels, have they been talking about retribution or revenge? Are there people that are wanting to get even? Do you think that there's a point where there's going to be a backlash?
Yes, I think every time the pendulum swings in one direction extremely, it'll always extremely head back the other direction. I think that's consistent throughout human history.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we can fix all of this without what history normally shows us occurs. I really want a peaceful resolution to an atrocity that's occurred.
Well, it would be nice.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that are angry.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could get some adults in the room to say, hey, listen, there are a lot of mistakes made. We're going to admit it. There are a lot of mistakes made on both sides of this conversation, this argument, but only one side was mandating anything. Only one side was keeping people from losing their jobs or making people lose their jobs, stopping people from being able to travel, stopping people from being able to go to concerts or restaurants or cruises. They said, we're going to threaten you. They threatened us across the board. You'll lose everything if you don't listen to us. And I think that there's got to be accountability, but people have to come together and agree, first of all, that there was some really bad shit that happened in the last 3 years. And to make sure that it never happens again, I'm honestly thinking we've got to get a medical freedom amendment into the Constitution that nobody, government or otherwise, can force me to put something into my body to maintain my freedom in my own country. Is that something that you think that people would go for? Or we should do?
A lot of people would go for that. And I would say inside that resolution, we need to reinstate something that says pharmaceutical companies are no longer allowed to advertise. Pharmaceutical companies are no longer allowed to buy off politicians. That those corporations, those companies are not allowed to have rights like individuals. They're not allowed to have that freedom of speech because they've caused so much damage, and they're not a person. They're a group that's there for profit. And when you're there for profit at the sake of my health, those things just don't go together.
Right. I think you're right. I think what we're going to see in the next 11 months are going to be tumultuous no matter what, just because of the elections and what's going on worldwide. I've been looking at things, Harry, and the world's on fire. Roma's on fire. Roma's burning. And there's going to be a few of us that make it through. And the reason we're going to make it through is because we've got the foresight to say, okay, well, if they did this now, this is what they could do, or this is what they could justify. And what we found over the last 3 years are the motherfuckers who will go along with it. The people that will march you into the gas chamber. That's who we saw reveal themselves over the last 3 years. Is there any way back? Do you think that we can turn this ship around? Do we still have hope in America, or is it lost and revolution or civil war is the only thing? Because that's what they keep saying. In fact, they're calling us Confederates now. I think that's what they want.
That's 100% what they want. And I don't want to give the enemy what the enemy wants. The enemy wants us to be so angry that we go out and surround the Capitol, and then they'll open the doors and they'll let us walk in, and then they'll arrest all the people that are actually willing to do something. Our enemy does not play fair.
No.
Our enemy will not only kill us with terrible pharmaceuticals, but they've proven to do all kinds of other bad things, and they'll change the vocabulary to fix what they want fixed. So we need to play outside of their game. We need to be we need to be at multiple moves further than them before we ever do anything, because they'll just throw us in jail or kill us. We've proven our side has proven that we'll do what's right.
Right.
We'll try to talk, be censored. We'll try to warn people from bad things. We'll be ridiculed. Their side has proven to play with no rules.
Well, that's what happened today.
Beat an enemy that doesn't have rules.
I got into, I was going back and forth, and it's always the same. It's always the same people on social media. 23 followers, no content, got the biggest mouths, right? They just all they've got is, and what I realized is because they've only got 25 followers, when you respond to them, it's like, oh my God, somebody's talking to me on social media. I gotta, and then they find out, well, it's you. They don't like what you're saying. And so when you just respond to them, they just become vitriol. So today, one of the questions I was asking was, I said, we've got plenty of proof of election interference and election fraud in 2020 throughout the country. It was widespread. We have the proof. Oh, no, you're not going to. So every time we showed the proof, they'd say, well, that's not real proof. That's already been debunked. So here's the question I'm asking. I don't know. I know what I saw. And what I saw was Ruby Freeman and her daughter counting ballots over and over and over again. I don't care where the ballots came from. Don't care if they were supposed to be under the table, hidden from everybody's view all day long. Don't care. Why did they count the ballots over and over and over again? And you know what the response was from these morons? Harry, they told me, well, if that's the interpretation of what you saw, I don't think that we can win because we're trying to play fair. We're trying to have a conversation and a debate. You and I having a conversation. The first time that we talked, we didn't agree on everything that was going on, right? But we're able to have a conversation and say, okay, we can agree on the most important things. The other stuff we'll just have to put into the wind. But they won't even do that.
Because you have to have, you have to have some level of common sense. And if they can convince somebody there's 14,000 genders and someone can be a puppy, then you've lost all common sense. I mean, it's Munchausen meets Stockholm.
Yep.
They have abused the public for so long, and they have enslaved the minds for so long that we're up against people that don't know how to think for themselves. So, real, in my opinion, real human beings can sit and have a conversation on different sides of the argument and be okay and either agree to disagree. But we're talking about things here that have moral rights,
right?
Moral sound rights and wrongs. Like I mean, when you're talking about, hey, a pharmaceutical company has already proven to kill a whole lot of people, have to pay out a lot because they've done it, and they mandate an experiment on the public, and I'm watching people die, and like my family member died right after they took it.
Yep.
This is wrong.
Yep.
And you're talking to someone who looks at you and just wants to be a liar or other terrible names. They don't have a sense of right and wrong.
Well, they just want to be right. They just want to be right. They just want to be right. They never want their guys to be labeled with anything. They never want their guys, smeared. They don't want their guys. I mean, they're willing to this bullshit with what's going on with Jeffrey Epstein's list, for example. Well, Trump's name's on it. Trump's name's on it. Okay, well, he never went to the island. The island was where all the action happened. Well, but he was on the plane. He was on the plane. Okay. Did he fuck anybody on the plane? Well, I don't know. Okay, then shut the fuck up. Let's talk about the kids who got harmed. That's what I'm concerned about. And here's the thing. Yeah. If Donald Trump fucked kids, he's got to go to jail too. And he's got to get the same, he's got to be held just accountable. It's a shame. Sorry, but you got to go to jail. That's the difference. I've said it before. If the cops came knocking on my door and showed me that, hey, your son killed somebody, here's the proof of it, here's a picture of him actually stabbing them to death, I would go with them over to my son's house and make him surrender. But that's me, right? I wouldn't be going through this problem that they're going through right now where they've got Hunter, and the first thing that they did, what did they tell us? And Hunter, Harry, this is what's interesting to me. They've lied to us so much that they expect us to continue to believe the lies. So when they tell me that it's safe and effective, in the same breath that they say that Hunter Biden's laptop is Russian disinformation, I got to believe that they're fucking lying to me about everything they say.
Yeah, I agree. And it's strange that you can categorize the people that are actually up against reality. I mean, most of them that I'm having to meet, I don't ban you, I don't censor you because I believe you can come on my page and say whatever the heck you want. Come trash me if you want to, that's fine. But what I can do on X is I can mute you. And I'll mute you. Yep. You can still say whatever you want. I don't have to read it.
Yep.
Yay, best of both worlds. But I've noticed I'm muting a whole lot of Ukraine emojis. I'm either muting Ukraine emojis, unicorn emojis, your rainbow flag plus a million emojis. I'm not against the gay population. I love my gay friends. Do your thing. But none of my gay friends try to convince me that they're a puppy.
Right.
None of if one of them wants to dress up like a man or a woman, they don't expect me to call him Dan or Jane. I can still call them by their real name. I mean, they're not forcing any issues.
Well, this is narcissism, Harry. This is narcissism. Pay attention to me. There's special rules for me. You've got to bow down to me. What I want is more important. And I don't play that game. You and I talked, when you and I first talked, I told you my story about, my dad being a minister, and I was bullied. I mean, I learned real quick how to deal with bullies, and that's all we've been going through for the last 3-4 years is bully, bully, bully. I mean, think about what happened with Trump starting in 2016. The very first day, they lied, right? Well, he didn't say that about Mexicans. He didn't say that. He didn't say what they said he said. And so that's right there when I told my wife, I says, we're in trouble. And then to learn, and I didn't know at that point, that, Obama had and the rhinos, along with Democrats, had rescinded or had modified the Smith-Mundt Act, which made it legal for them to lie to us, for the government to propagandize the American people. And the question I ask, just like I asked about Ruby Freeman, who does that benefit? Which American citizen does being able to be lied to by the government benefit? Does it benefit you, Harry?
Oh, no. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, if we have a system that is run by people that associate with Jeffrey and the like, they're gonna have to change the rules that benefit them. They're gonna have to do what California's done and change rules so they can try to sleep with the youngest possible so they don't go to jail. They're gonna have to make up look like down and down look like up. That way they don't go to jail or worse.
Well, it's no different than what Mao did when he, the revolution of China. It was the same exact thing. They turned the kids against the parents. Everything that was old was bad and everything that was new was great. And anything was possible. You could do anything that you wanted. You could be anything that you wanted until they got their power. And then the minions, right, the sycophants, they killed them. So all of these gay men dancing around, dressed up as women, Dylan Mulvaney, the people that are the stars, the moment that they changed and they've got their power, they're where they're at, they're the first to go. Hitler did the same thing in Germany. He went through and once he got power, he got rid of all the people that put him there. Because he doesn't need people. You don't need people that have the same power as you once you've got power. You don't want them coming after you, so you kill them first. I think that, Harry, the thing that we have a problem with in this nation is that people are they've got the memory of a goldfish, and they have no knowledge of their own history. And so we keep repeating the same bullshit over and over and over again because the guys at the top just rename it. They call it something else. They give it a brand new, they shine it up, and they give you something else. So today what we're going through is no different than the Chinese Revolution, the People's Revolution. Am I wrong?
The only difference I would see is the fact that we have such immense technology now. The technology is taken 1984 and put it on. I mean, we've never in human history, known human history, experienced this type of technology. Because you don't even, at this point in time, you don't even know if you're talking to a real human being anymore that's arguing.
Right. Well, there's a new service. There's a new news service that just launched maybe 3 weeks ago. And they have AI avatars that deliver the news. You cannot tell that it's not a human. It looks better than a video game. It's phenomenal. And that's our future.
And imagine, oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, most people, here's something strange, is the fact that most people don't even know how much AI has to do with the vaccine. Most people don't know that AI created the code. It's like within 2 days. If you look up, I was there when AI created a vaccine, you'll find an MIT article that talks about they wouldn't have been able to do this without AI. So at what time in human history has an entity that's not human, half of the world wants to work, some of the world wants to worship it, some of the world doesn't even know it exists, creates a code that you have to put in your body? Like, we're moving so much faster than most of the people can realize.
Yep.
They're introducing technology inside the human body that most people can't even pronounce, or just would have. It would be sci-fi. We're living in a sci-fi world, and most people are still running in 1970s cars.
I think it's important for people to understand that there's a group of us that have an inner strength for whatever reason, and are able to stand up to people. We're able to stand up to the bully. That for whatever reason we've got it, and I know that with you, your spirituality is a big issue, and has helped get you through the times when you were unemployed and so on. I'd like to talk about that and look at, are we in the final days of what the Bible talks about? Are we at the Tower of Babel? Are we repeating the stories that we've learned through the Bible? Is that possible? We'll talk about that when we come back. Harry Fisher, our guest on Kramer Says. the podcast.
Kramer Says is everywhere. Twitter, Truth, Instagram, and always on America's fastest growing free speech platform, Kramer Says Social. Make your free account today at CramerSez.com. You're watching Kramer Says.
It is Wednesday, January 3rd. My name is Kramer. This is the Kramer Says podcast. Our guest tonight is Harry Fisher, and Harry is a paramedic who has seen some horrible things over the last few months, a few years with COVID and so on, and started to tell that story on social media, and they quickly cut his feet out from underneath him. But you've got a partner in your life that helps you make it through the hard times, right? Let's talk about that. What is your spiritual belief, your religious belief? How has that helped you throughout this period?
Oh, it's helped me completely. Without faith in God, I would have been lost. I have noticed that most people that stand on the side of not wanting to take God, that's another thing, another pattern of it, is a lot of the people are spiritual in some way. They believe in a higher power. Don't get me wrong, I have some atheist friends that didn't want to take it for whatever reason. Normally it's because they saw something bad. But a lot of the people that didn't see anything bad have some kind of faith in a higher power. Without that faith, though, through all of this, I truly would have been lost. I would have felt alone. It could have gotten really bad.
Yeah, it was amazing to me that the people that are the biggest advocates for the jab are those that are closer to being atheist than anything else, and they've got complete faith in science. And I crack up and they go, well, you have faith in God. Well, you have faith in man. I've seen them screw up. Right? Bill Gates is in charge of all these vaccines and these vaccine programs. Anybody ever try the first rollout of a Windows product? I don't trust Bill Gates with rolling out shit, let alone a vaccine. So, I think that we've got to start taking a look at where we are with our freedoms, and I keep going back to people in church. Now, I have a unique relationship with religion. My dad was a minister. I don't like the politics of church, so I don't go to church. But I believe in the Creator, and I believe in God, and I believe that there's something greater than me. So, with that being said, people all the time say, they go, well, they say, you're not a Christian. Okay? Whatever.
Well,
you need a label?
It's good that you have that background, especially in these times. I mean, this is where a lot of people will just get lost. Sadly, they'll just get lost in the spiritual aspect of what's occurring. I mean, we're up against powers and principalities, not against flesh and blood. No. Granted, we have flesh and blood people that are trying to mandate the heck out of us, but they're following the science. They have tried to create a new religion. That new religion is based on the science. Follow the science. Follow the science. Don't follow God. Follow the science. And that mystical science is being manipulated to push people to eventually AI. They're going to try to, what they believe, create their own God.
Yep.
And that's been happening since the Tower of Babel. You were talking about the Tower of Babel before you went to a break. I mean, the Tower of Babel, I believe it was Nimrod. Nimrod tried to build the tower to reach God. And then God was like, no, can't do that. So I'm going to disperse all the languages. And all the languages were dispersed. Well, if you ever know a computer coder, what they've done with a Python code language, because one of the main languages these days, Python, how you can code AI, that's bringing all the languages inevitably back together. So they're building that big old computer tower to the clouds to talk to an entity that is now providing codes to put inside the entire Earth, all of humans. That's pretty biblical in my mind.
Right.
Now, does that mean this is the mark? I don't see this as being the mark. I see this as being a precursor, because I got to see what it looks like to not be able to buy, sell, trade, or work.
Right.
I got to see what that looks like. It's going to get worse. Like, if good people don't stand up and at least realize we need freedom bodily autonomy, or it can get worse. If they can't see that, they're never going to see the spiritual aspect of what's going to come.
Well, I made the comment. I made the comment, and I don't know how you feel about it, but I will kill you if you try to put something in my body against my will. I'm not going to sit there and let you do it. Not going to happen. I'm not one of those people that will take a knee. Not going to happen. Bullies are bullies. And on the playground, you got a busted nose. At this level, you die. And that's what the American people have to start letting their politicians know. We're not playing a game here, motherfuckers. We don't care what plan that you have for us on a global scale. We're not doing it. We've already got a set of rules. The set of rules are in the National Archives. It's called the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. Those are the rules of the playground. Don't care what Klaus Schwab has to say. Don't care what the WHO has to say. Do not care what the IMF has to say, or the Fed, or anybody else. They're not listed in the Constitution. If they're not enumerated, they don't fucking matter. And I think that the American people have to start saying it very clearly.
I mean, I fully get it. Protect yourself if someone enters your home and they're trying to harm you, I fully understand and agree with protecting yourself and your family. Eventually, to go back on what you were saying much earlier in the conversation, a lot of people are going to realize they have to protect their family.
Yep.
Because bad has entered our gate. Bad has taken over. And either we stare down and say, it has to get out of our house, or we go ahead and bend the knee.
Yeah, and I'm not going to bend the knee. I won't do it. I make the rules in my home. Somebody in D.C. doesn't do that. Somebody in the state capitol doesn't do that. Somebody in Davos doesn't do that. And I think that American citizens have to start talking in the language of our founding fathers. And what they told those that were oppressing them, we're going to kill you. Now, when people say that out loud, they go, oh my God, he's threatened. Nope. Not making a threat, right? A warning. We just want our freedoms back. We want to go back to the way things were. And if you can't allow us to do that, if you won't abide by the rules of the playground as set forth in 1776, if you won't go back to that, then you got to die. Because I'm not doing your New World Order bullshit. Now, some people, do you think that that's, what do you call it? What would that be called? Is that hateful or heated language? Or is that making the mandate of this is what we want?
I mean, it is heated language, but I mean, there's a time and place for all things. I mean, there's a time and place for love. There's a time and place for peace. There's a time for war. And if they do end up trying to say you and your family have to line up and take something, or you are going to be killed, then there's a time for war. Or
it's not even just killed, right? They'll lock you up. They'll take away your freedoms. They've already told us what they would do. The people during COVID told us that they thought that they had the authority to take us out of our homes and put us into a concentration camp until we came around and took the drug that they wanted us to take. That's what our fellow neighbors said when they were scared.
Yes. And what they did during that time is realize a lot of us were still going to stand up, and they had to blanket censor a whole lot of us. We had just enough people like you and me screaming that they knew that they couldn't actually do that here. They could do it more so in Australia.
Right.
They could do it more so in Israel, but they weren't going to do it to us in most of the red states.
Yep.
That they figured that out. Now, with figuring that out, they've collected a lot of data and had a whole lot of time to put new rules in, create new laws, write in stuff like in Rhode Island, because they were trying at one point in time to write in rules in Rhode Island and other places that if you don't take the shot, they were going to start charging you.
Yep.
So they'll start doing things like that to try to just change people's minds so they don't fight as much later. I think we did a good job at screaming, but they did a really good job at figuring out who would scream
Well, they've networked exactly who we are, right? It's funny. You and I have never met. I don't know where you live, but we've talked several times. They know those networks. They know who we're talking to. They know who the hotheads are. They know who the troublemakers are, and they know the ones in the bar. I like to put things down to lowest common denominator so people actually understand it, right? They know which kid on the playground they can't go fuck with. And if they do fuck with them, that they need several of them because we're not going easy. And we're going to be loud, and we're going to be screaming, and we're going to be fighting back, tooth and toenail. And by the way, I don't fight fair. When I fight, I gouge eyes, I bite, I scratch. I'm going to win. And you can call me whatever you want to after the fight, but during the fight, I'm there to win. Well, you're your sissy. Okay, I won, didn't I? Get up, bitch, and put your teeth back in your mouth.
I fully understand. I mean, who was it? I think it was Peter who was walking around with Jesus with a sword. I mean, he had a sword. He cut a soldier's ear off. Jesus put the ear back on, but Peter was allowed to carry a sword. I mean, there's a reason why Jesus was okay with his men carrying weapons. But that being said, there's just got to be the right time.
I think we're there.
We can't do anything frivolously.
No, I agree.
And we have held our place really well, like as far as we haven't held our tongues, but we've held our tempers quite well. You can go off, and I like seeing you go off sometimes because you're saying predominantly what I'm agreeing to and everybody else is. So I appreciate it. But we've done a really good job I hate saying it's a good job, but we've done a really good job at holding our temper, watching some of the worst things occur. Now, how long can we hold our tempers? I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people are really starting to, what is it? I think yesterday or the day before, I started seeing a signature list going around of quite a few people, military members signing, trying to hold the military accountable for the mandate.
Yep.
I was in a space with Matt Gaetz and General Flynn, and I mean, some pretty major names are starting to talk about holding the military accountable.
Yep.
That's a good step in the right direction, but a lot of people are going to see that as, why weren't we doing that 3 years ago?
Well, it comes down to the fact that people were so overwhelmed by everything that was happening. I mean, look at this. I didn't have time on a daily basis when all of this started to be doing what we're doing right now. I didn't have the time to do that. I was running a company, right? I had projects all over the nation. I didn't have time to be on social media. I do now. They destroyed my company. Right? So I have that time now. Here's the benefit. And I've told people this time and time again on social media. Here, I was lucky. I was raised poor, got rich, and I've turned that into a fight now to make sure that other people can do that, because the system that they're putting in place is going to remove the American dream from ever being possible again. The American dream isn't being delivered something or given something. The American dream is the ability to say, someday if I do the right things, I can have whatever I want. I can become whatever I want. And there's a chance that I'm going to be uber wealthy and uber successful, but most likely not. I'm just going to be able to do what I want. But there's still that chance that I can break through. I can be an Elon Musk. I can be a Bill Gates. I can be a Steve Jobs. I can be a Thomas Edison or whoever else. That's the American dream, but it's not given to you on a platter because of your sexuality, right? What your skin color is, what your gender is, what your gender for the day is. And it's those people, and I think this is what the hardworking people of America have understood for the longest time, is that if they go and they do what they're supposed to do, the system will work for them. And what they've realized over COVID is that it was a lie. A lot of it was a lie, because it's been gamed and it's been jacked, and we've been ripped off and robbed for so long that when we had an opportunity to finally see what was going on, we go, okay, now we got to speak up. And now we're angry because not only did they do all of this, Harry, but they lied to us and told us that we were the problem. It was our fault. They made us the enemy.
And what they also did, I mean, if you think about it, here's a positive. The giant that was coming after us, we've been using its own weight against it, because I've met you, I've met Peter McCullough, I could go through the names of people I would have never got to connect with and become friends with had they not persecuted me. Had they not persecuted you, had they not taken away our rights, we wouldn't have built such a foundation. And they built a foundation on sand, on lies. We're all building foundations on truth and making solid friendships. that's going to work against them.
Right.
It'll happen.
Yep, I think it's going to happen. Our guest tonight, Harry Fisher. Thank you for being with me, Harry. I appreciate the conversation. It was fun. We've been talking about doing it for a while, and we finally got it done. Thank you so much. Do you have anything else to say in closing? How do people get a hold of you?
You can find me on X, Harry Fisher. I believe you might have to look up Harry Fisher and then HOPING 669.
I saw that.
Or something like that.
I saw that. Now. If you just search for Harry Fisher, you'll pop up.
Yeah, okay. If you type that in, you can find me on TikTok, but I'm not there often anymore just because of the censorship. But so I won't even send you that direction because I don't like censoring myself, so I'm not there very much. Other than that, I'm very appreciative for you having me on, brother. And
anytime.
I hope and pray to talk to you again soon, and if you need anything, give me a shout, and God bless.
Will do. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. My name is Kramer. This is CramerSez Podcast. We'll be back tonight, or as soon as we can. We'll see you then.
You're watching CramerSez.